There are very many different models
Yes.
of doing research, and sometimes they differ between developed countries. You may have a wonderful economic policy in your country, but if there's an international crisis,
Yes.
you are going to be affected. So
Any domestic issue cannot stand alone. It should always international issue in it. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang. How are you? Ini Ramadan ke-15, tanggal 6 April 2023. Alhamdulillah. Saya Nurliah Nurdi, Direktur Politeknik ITB Jakarta. Hari ini kami kedatangan tamu, dan tamunya jauh ya dari Chicago. Itu judul lagu saja ada gitu ya, dan kita semua tahunya ini kota yang windy city, sangat menarik, sangat luar biasa. Dan tamu kita ini saya perkenalkan sedikit karena nanti beliau akan memperkenalkan diri sendiri. Profesor Alex ya. Ini I think I rather let Professor Alex to introduce a little bit about yourself. Why you here? Are you coming for only us, or you come for other research ya? Beliau ini direktur Center for Research on International Affairs. Yeah, please do introduce yourself.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm Alex Grigorescu. I'm currently the chair of the Political Science Department at Loyola University of Chicago. But more importantly, I'm here because we are establishing a new Center for Research on International Affairs, and I'm going to direct the center. And we were talking earlier a little bit about this. Research these days is increasingly international, and we look for collaborations and possibilities of doing research together. So I am visiting several countries, obviously including Indonesia.
Before here?
Well, before coming, after coming, and I'm going to be going to others, and it's also we have connections with your university
Yes.
through some of your faculty members,
Yes.
and the idea is for us to understand a little bit about what the research is conducted in the various universities, to find common themes, if possible, and to see if we can work together. And because research by two people is always better than research by one, and so on.
Great. So, if you heard that, let me say in English ya, supaya profesornya tahu kita nggak gibahin gitu ya. Jadi overseas, especially in US, itu research is really strong endorsements, and you cannot do research by yourself. It is not only in your institution, but you should collaborate not only nationally, but you have to get international collaboration for doing your research. Now, I have actually two questions instead of research. It is interesting that universities is really heavy on their research. We do also as an institution of education, we do have some research, but it's a little title, it's not that influence much. It's only to fulfill a lecture's obligation that you have a research, and at the end you doing a publication. It seems to me, and I talked earlier, that research must be really affect others as much as possible, and certainly it needs a lot of money. How do you see that research in developed countries as US and developing countries as Indonesia?
There are very many different models
Yes.
of doing research, and sometimes they differ between developed countries. The French system is very state-run, for example, and the US and British system are more privately run. There are some centers where research is, even among developed countries. In Germany, they have separate research centers. But in the US, the vast majority of the research takes place within the university. So there are different models, whether it's among developed or developing countries. They're done in different ways. But because I'm coming from the United States, obviously, our collaborations are intended to look at other universities, other places, other centers. It doesn't matter if it's a university or not. So it is really diverse. It is hard to find a model, and especially because I'm thinking of different countries, I can't come up with just one model. And that's why the ideal approach to a collaboration for research is to find an individual researcher who happens to work on something very similar to another researcher in another country. And when I said that research needs to be done in collaboration, it's often for comparative perspectives. Somebody who's doing research on a public policy issue here in Indonesia may have no idea that there's somebody in Romania, where I'm from, who did this very similar research a while back. And there's maybe some similarities, and they each want to learn from each other. Or somebody in South Africa, or somebody in Argentina, or somebody in France. So it's this kind of comparative perspective that both sides learn from. And it doesn't matter what the model is, as long as the individuals who are doing that research can talk to each other.
Great. So we just heard that researchers should get a collaboration. You cannot do by yourself. You find your similarity research overseas in campuses, and they do the research, and then we can contact each other. Even we offer a collaboration as usual in Indonesia. Let's do a memorandum of understanding. Hold on, you don't do that. Let's do what is the similarity of prospective research that can be done in both institutions, or not only institutions, individual research in the campuses. Professors, we would like to hear, because we have already limited times. You have also, you are directors of Center on Research on International Affairs. How would you share with us in international affairs, for example, war, Russia, Ukraine, and this pandemic still going and going, we don't know what will happen in the future. How will this affect in public administration, especially affect the way we're teaching, the way we influence our curriculums?
As somebody who does research and who teaches international relations, I obviously am biased, and I think everything has an international dimension. But even if I wouldn't be, increasingly what the literature shows is that over the last 20 or 30 years, all of our domestic issues have international dimensions. If you're trying to understand health issues in Indonesia or the United States, it's impossible not to look at what's going around. Of course, COVID was just an example, but there have been so many other health-related issues that we cannot just focus on our own country. If you're looking at economic issues, it's impossible. You may have a wonderful economic policy in your country, but if there's an international crisis, you are going to be affected. So increasingly, public administration as a field, whether it is the way we teach it or the way we try to conduct research on it, it has to take into account international aspects. So a lot of the schools in the United States have added to School of Public Administration the words public administration and international affairs, because increasingly there is a connection between this, and we need to really understand how the war in Ukraine is actually affecting our economies, our education, the taxation system, all of those things.
Wow. That's amazing, professors. One thing that we learned from you, that never think that what's happened domestically in our policy will just stay there. It always has international aspect, international influence. So let's see what other countries has done, or what they have been through, and then they will influence our country or our policy. And this should also influence the university, the way they're teaching, the curriculums, if it is, I may say like that. So we have to change any one line that I can say. Any domestic issue cannot stand alone. It should always international issue in it, big or small thing, but we have to prepare. Well, thank you very much, professors, for your time. We steal your time.
Oh, really. Thank you.
And
it was my pleasure.
Expect you going back home safely, have a pleasant journey, and then we expect to see you in research between our lectures. We have lectures also here, graduate from Loyola University. That's why Professor Alex come to us. Thank you for watching us. We expect to see you in another podcast from Polytechnic Sialan, Jakarta.